on the market as long as you can get money from that. And your competitors come up, the rules change, new players come into the market. Think of Nokia, they are still producing.
Projects must die. So I love the title. I'll put this speaker's name. I cannot pronounce it, and I'm not going to do it because if I do it, I'm going to butcher his name. I believe he's from Germany. I might be wrong. So look him up here. I'll put his name up here. Awesome talk. I love his session. It kind of got me thinking. So he came in with two things: finite game and infinite game. So when you play certain games, there are strategy that you do. So we have what we call a finite game. So in finite game, what it means is that it is a time box. In this game, there is a begin, there's an end, and there's a fixed set of players. An example would be basketball. Basketball has a fixed set of time. When the buzzer is, when the game ends, it ends. The players are fixed, right? At only one point in time, yes, you have big players on the bench, but there's still one big team. So the strategy for finite games is very different from strategy for infinite games. So on the other scale, you have infinite games. When you do infinite games, pretty much the rules is that the rules will change because it's infinite, right? There is no end, there is no time box, and you don't know who the players are. So when you think about that, when you think about how does that relate to a project, well, where does a project fall? If we look at how we do software development, oftentimes we're asked up front, say, hey, we're going to put together this project. We're going to figure out how many resources. Well, I did that before, based on how many, what is needed. We're going to figure out what is the resources, how long it's going to take, and things like that. So wait a minute, we don't know the resources. So where does that fall? So that means that kind of fall into the infinite side of the strategy, right? So how do you win at those? So for infinite, you're not winning something, you're building something for sustainability. For finite, then yeah, you want to win, right? So for example, at the end of the game, the basketball game ended, and when you look at the players, they gave it all they got, they're tired. So can they play more? Well, I don't think they can play any more, because they gave it all. They're so tired. They can go in for a couple more hours. Is that sustainable? Probably not. The break end up killing them, right? So that kind of resonates with how we do projects today. Well, it doesn't make sense, right? So what he's talking about is that we should be looking at how we build software and how we build a company. In reality, that is an infinite game. If you have a brand of a product, the product will not end, the product will die, the product will carry on for a long time. There is this long period of time. So when you try to run a project to develop a product, it doesn't work. If you're trying to think like a finite game, it doesn't work that way. So it should be an infinite game. And this is something I think I resonate with. And what's interesting is that today we had an article posted by an individual. And I'll put a link on this article. It talks about how CTOs today, their time spent in the company, it's around 2+ years. So in this short term of period, they want to show something, which means they kind of connect the dot for me, which means that these individuals are looking at it as a finite game. But wait a minute. We just said that software development or building company isn't finite, so it should be infinite. So when you have individuals that think it's finite, guess what they do? They run their projects like a finite game. They use a finite game strategy, and that doesn't work. Okay, that doesn't work. It's a short-term play only. It makes sense to some of the companies. It makes sense to some of the folks. It makes sense for the people that are in it for a short period of time. And I have met those individuals, having conversation where they say, really, I don't really care about quality. All I care is this thing getting released. To them, there is an end, because for them, it's a short-term play. So look it up, look up the finite game strategy and infinite game strategy, kind of compare and see. So it's very interesting to have this at the back, back of my mind. So how, this action is because it's finite, and no, wait a minute, we should be looking at it as an infinite. So when you are doing infinite, you want to build knowledge, you want to build assets, or you want to gain as much assets as you can. Well, what are those? Your assets going to be your brand, your client relationship is your asset, your product itself is an asset. Well, what else? Your coding is your asset, your infrastructure is your asset, right? All those are assets. So what do? In order to create sustainable, you gotta make sure you pay attention to all these components, pay attention to your code, making sure it's of highest quality. So you can see the differences right there. So check it out, take a look at it, take a look at these two things, finite game strategy and infinite game strategy, and see which one do you see more.